In this video, I drive an EV from the 1970s. I use up all of Norway's reserve electricity. And God decides that summer in Norway means dark and stormy. Today, we are putting arguably the toughest EV ever made through the hardest test we do here on this channel. Not only are we measuring the time an EV needs to charge to complete the more than 600 kilometer or almost 400 mile trip, and then ranking the cars based on that, but this trip is also designed to uncover weaknesses and flaws with an EV. And yes, they all have weaknesses and flaws, even this one. So once we hit 100% charge, we were on the way, but unfortunately everybody else seemed to be, because we hit really bad traffic and even worse weather, which you may imagine would affect the least aerodynamic electric car ever made in a bad way. It's been a very long time since I've been in the Mercedes G580 with EQ technology. I think it's like last October, end of last October, I went to the launch here in Norway, and I haven't driven one or sat in one ever since. And from now on, guys, I'm just gonna call this the G580 because I think that branding EQ with EQ technology is just dumb and yeah, really bad marketing or branding. So I'm just gonna call it the G580 from here on and out. And I have to say, I've just spent a few days, half a week in the Volvo EX90, which is a great car. I had high expectations hopping into this, and it's a little bit different than I remember, and also a little bit different than I was expecting. But once my brain, calibrated to this experience, I think it is actually pretty cool. It is a great car. This is in an awesome matte blue paint color. Not sure if I would choose that, but it is very cool. I'd probably go for yellow. I think yellow is my new color. I've done white for about a decade, but I think yellow would be really cool. Let me know what you think about one of these with like black AMG wheels and a yellow paint color or a yellow wrap. I think that would be very cool. So we've been on the road for an hour and covered 95 kilometers. We started with a little bit of traffic out of Oslo. We're doing this in the afternoon and in the evening instead of in the morning, just because I picked up this car pretty late and I only have it like for half a week because there's so much, demand on this press car. So for me to be able to do all the tests I want to do on this car, I had to do the long trip test first, and then tomorrow I'm gonna do the range test, which is the opposite way I usually do this, because usually I do my range test first and then I have quite a good idea about the consumption, but now I don't know at all. And after an hour and 50 minutes on the road, almost 100 kilometers covered, our average consumption is 30.4 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which is astronomically high. But we've also had really bad weather the first part of this trip, the first like 30 to 45 minutes, pouring rain, wet roads, and also according to the wind map, we do have, a headwind. So I'm pretty curious to see. The car is now predicting we're gonna ride with 15% stated charge, which isn't a lot, but hopefully once we're done with the 4-lane motorway section, we're gonna have patches of 2-lane and 4-lane highway. It's going to bring down the average speed just a little bit, and I think this car at a little bit lower average speeds is going to be a lot more efficient than going 120 kilometers an hour, because this is a brick. I mean, this windscreen is like almost 90 degrees, and this car is very well sound insulated, and especially below 100 kilometers an hour, but you can tell that this greenhouse is just a box, and going 120 and above, there is a lot of wind noise. But so far, guys, I think the weather is going to be better as we keep moving southward. It's now 18, almost 19 degrees Celsius. We've had temperatures down towards like 15, and I think the conditions are just going to get better and better. And I have no idea how this car is going to perform, or how much battery we're going to have at our halfway point, and where we're going to even stop and charge. Like, I'm pretty clueless, but let's find out together, and I think it's going to be a fun trip. As we got closer and closer to Kristiansand, the weather got better and even the sun popped out. Though the consumption pretty much stayed the same, for some reason I felt positive in the G-Wagon. Maybe because despite it guzzling down the electrons, it somehow felt unstoppable. Okay, we are now approaching Kristiansand, our turnaround point, but the past hour and a half it's been super windy, like it's been blowing like crazy. And because the G580 is basically a big square box, we're trying to push through the air. When we're going on the motorway and we have like a headwind of like 4, 5, 6 meters per second, you can't only hear it, but you can feel it. And you can definitely see it on the trees. Here's a little bit calmer, but yeah, that means our average consumption has actually gone up, though our average speed has of course dropped since we've not been on, pure motorway. So now halfway, it's 31.9 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. The only good news is that we are now here with 16% stated charge. The car predicted we would arrive here with like 12 or 13 and 59 kilometers of range remaining. So I don't think we're going to be able to go to Brokelandsheia, which is the Ionity charters I usually try to target. Maybe we can go to the Circle K charters in Grimstad, but maybe we just have to, stop early and go to the Ionity charters in Lillesand. But that means potentially doing a two charging stops. We haven't done that in summer in a long time. Even though this car has a large battery, 116 kilowatt hours usable, that consumption is insane. I had totally forgotten, and once I turned off the camera, I remembered they've actually opened a new Ionity charger here in Grimstad, so we don't have to rely on the Circle K chargers, which can deliver like 300 or 400 kilowatts, but there are 2 connectors to each charger. So you're not going to get that full charge speed if there's another car there, and I don't know, it may be busy now. But they also have a new Ionity charging station, so that's where we're going to go now, because Ionity with the Ionity charging pass is super cheap, like 3 kroner per kilowatt hour. And I think there's a new subscription service that I saw when I went to the Elrock RS launch last week or the week before in Czechia. I don't remember, the week or the week before. I think it's even like 2 kroner 50 öre like per kilowatt hour if you go for a little bit more expensive pass. But okay, it's totally vacant here at the Circle K charging station. But we're gonna go over to the Ionity ones because it's cheaper. Why pay more when you don't have to? Okay. So you could, I don't know if you guys could hear, but it's really, really windy outside now. It's crazy. The consumption has dropped a little bit. Because we've been heading now with a tailwind, but we're gonna go over here, and this G580 has its charge port on the right side, and we're now here with 3% charge and average consumption 31.1 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers, which is insanely high. Yes, it is. It is insanely high. There's no other way to put that than this is insanely high. There we go. So we're gonna hop out now, and yeah, I'm not sure about the charging strategy, but we're gonna connect now and see if we can get that peak of 200 kilowatts. Okay, it is super windy. There we have the charge port here on the passenger side, and I'm gonna try to keep my back towards the wind because my mic is like underneath my t-shirt, and I don't want I don't want the wind on it, so we're not gonna have bad audio. Okay, so this car, 116 kilowatt hour usable battery, 200 kilowatts of peak charge speed. What was curious is, I forgot to show you guys, but these new Mercedes EQ models, like the EQS, EQS SUV, EQE, with the, the bigger screen, the hyper screen, they have a readout for what speed you're gonna get when you connect to a charger. This didn't have that, which was a little bit weird. It's probably running older software, but weird that it didn't implement that into the infotainment system. So I think it's like 34 minutes to go from 10 to 80%. Not too bad, or is it 44? Like 34, 44. So I'm not sure how much we have to charge to. Maybe we can go to 70 or 80%, and that will be enough to get us back home. But I'm going to show you guys now. I'm not going to turn my mic into the wind. So hopefully you guys can see that. 4% stated charge. It is building slowly. We're now at 71 kilowatts, 108. I did not precondition the battery either, which maybe I should have done. But it is like 20 degrees Celsius outside. We've drained the battery down to like 4%. I don't think it should be necessary to preheat the battery during these conditions. But maybe because of the pack voltage, maybe quite low now, we may have to get to 10% to get that 200 kilowatts. I'm not sure. We're now at 15% stated charge, and as you guys can see, we're charging at 193 kilowatts. So I think it was correct. My initial thought that we had to be above 10% stated charge to get close to that 200 kilowatts. So I think it's just going to climb steady now up to 200. We may see a little bit more than 200 once the battery pack voltage climbs a little bit up towards 400 volts. And yeah, so let's turn on the ignition now, and then let's see how much the car thinks we're going to have to charge to. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to take that away, and we're going to press X there, and then we're going to X that, and then we're going to put our end goal, which is SO, in Släp, and then that is where we're going to. And then we're going to see what the car says. That's the one, SO. And the car should give us an estimation. Yeah, now guys, we're at 195 kilowatts, but that may be 2 kilowatt drain or 3 kilowatt drain for the AC now running. So the car says here 2%. Well, that's not with this. There should be like a charger here. So not sure why it's not showing, because no way in hell do we have enough. Oh no, I didn't want to go, no. I wanted to stop this message. Okay, that's with the left button on the steering wheel. No way we're going to be able to go to there with like 19% and arrive there with 2%. So that's a little bit weird. Maybe we have to wait. Do that again. Maybe we have to wait until we've got a little bit more charge into the battery. But it's not, why doesn't it just show, like it says 20 to 100%. So does the car want us to go to 100% and then we're going to ride with 2%? Is that what the car's estimating? No, but that can't be true, because now we're going to head into or with a tailwind, and the car predicted with 100% stated charge we would be in Kristiansand with 12, 13%. We ride there with 17. So I think it's good to go to like 70 or maybe 80% should be enough. And going to 80% should be enough, battery for us to get back to where we started. Since the route planner didn't give us an actual plan, I had to resort to my calculations that said going to 70% would be sufficient to get us back. So once we hit 73%, I disconnected from the charger and got underway. And once underway, I was feeling confident. For hours, the buffer between range and distance stayed at a comfortable 20 plus kilometers. But an hour before arriving back, the skies turned dark, very dark, and I knew a storm was coming. A storm I had not taken into account in my calculations. And as predicted, the skies opened up, the rain poured down, and that comfortable buffer was now gone, and we were in the red. The big question was now, would we actually make it back on this charge? Welcome back to SO in Släpenden, where we started this long trip test earlier today. And we're here, it's 10:30 in the evening. It's like the summer solstice, or a few days past the summer solstice, and it's still light outside, which is insane. And I'm doing this, this long trip test in the evening today because I've picked up this car late, because of my schedule this week. And I didn't even think about bringing, you know, my light, but yeah, I'm using my phone now, so hope you guys can see me well. But okay, guys, we arrived here with 1% stated charge and 1 kilometer of range left. We actually had pretty decent power going out at a roundabout over here. I was scared that, you know, we would be totally out of power, and also really afraid that we would run out of electricity, because it was looking fine for a while, and in like 45 minutes, an hour before we got back here to Oslo, the skies opened and we had bad weather, and the, you know, the delta between the range we had and the distance just grew smaller and smaller, and it was in the minus for a while. But we managed to get here. The consumption today, pretty insane, 31.8 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. I think that is like worse than the largest SUVs we tested in like winter. I think I drove an EV9 all-wheel drive in like minus 20 degrees Celsius like last winter or something like that. And I don't think the consumption was even that high. Goes to show you that this car, not only the aerodynamics are pretty bad, being designed from the 1970s, but also this having quad motors, a motor on every wheel. It's not the best for efficiency. So I think all of those factors, and, you know, slightly bad weather today and also the wind, contributes to pretty bad conditions. So we charged for 30 minutes up until 73%, and there's not a lot of subtraction, actually no subtraction for time, because we basically arrived here with 0% stated charge. And if we were going to subtract the minute, that's 71% stated charge. We went to 73. That means arriving here with -1. And the rule is we corrected, so we arrive here with 0% stated charge. So yeah, that is today's trip. Kind of like uneventful, and I mean, this car is not the best for a long trip, and it's probably not the car you're going to use for a long trip. If you own this, like, you're most likely going to have something else, or you know of the weaknesses of this car. But in a lot of ways, this is a very cool and awesome car, and I really like it. I really love it, despite the insane high consumption and slowish charging. I mean, the charge curve was relatively flat, like 200 kilowatts, almost up to like 50%, and then it started dipping off. I think this car, you know, would really compete with other cars if it had much faster charging. Like if this was on an 800 volt architecture, could charge at 400 volts. That means like half the charge time, and that puts this into like the 15-minute or 15 to 20 minutes charge time to complete this test, and that's more competitive than this is. But I don't think this platform and this car is going to get more efficient anytime soon. I don't think it's the plan for the G580, but I think it's a cool car. Let me know what you think about the results down below. Not good, not great, but not terrible either, except for the consumption. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below, and for more car content, as always, please subscribe. See you guys later, and goodbye.